Are you in the process of applying for a US visa at a US consulate somewhere in the world, and you found out that either your visa interview was waived or it might be waived? Well, if you are that person, then you need to watch this video, because I am going to go through with you the 3 things that you absolutely must be aware of if your US visa interview was waived. Hi, and thank you for joining me to talk immigration. My name is Andrea Shev, if you don't know me already, and I am a U.S. immigration attorney that's been doing this for well over 20 years. And I put together this YouTube channel for you to give you clear, concise, and easy to understand information about all different types of U.S. immigration topics. Now, in this video, we are going to talk about 3 things that you absolutely must be aware of if your interview was waived, your visa interview was waived, or it can be waived. You need to watch this video to truly understand what that means for you in the US visa interview process. All right, the first thing that you need to understand if your visa interview is waived is that you will not have the opportunity to stand in front of another human being and explain your situation. It will all go through an envelope in paper to the consulate. They will open it, they will look at it, they'll make a determination, and either they will send back your passport with the visa in it, or they will request more information, which usually doesn't happen, or they will deny the case. So the problem with these visa interview waivers is that you lose the opportunity to communicate with another person, to explain anything that needs to be explained, for the officer to ask anything that's unclear. There's a communication back and forth. Now, a lot of you are thinking, I don't like that communication. I'd rather just mail it in. But remember, even though you might not like that communication, a lot gets resolved at that interview that can't be resolved with a piece of paper in an envelope that they have no idea about anything. So all I can say to you is that because you're losing that connection with another human that is making the determination and deciding your fate, basically, are you going to have that visa approved or not? Make sure when you send in the documentation in that envelope, make sure that you have everything that you are required to send in, plus anything else that you need to send in order to clarify any issues that they might see on their end. Because if you don't, it's going to either get denied or it's going to cause severe delays, and there is nobody, unfortunately, you can talk to because you're not going to be going to an interview to speak to any human being. The second thing that you really have to be aware of if you're doing a mail-in is that you must be in the country that you are mailing it into when you mail it in. You can't be in the US or in Tahiti if you're applying for a mail-in in another country. You must be present in that country. There's many reasons why. One of the main reasons is security. You can't mail something to the consulate out from outside of the country. Usually they won't accept it just for security reasons. But remember, also, if you're mailing it in if you're sitting in the United States and you're mailing it in, you have to mail in your passport. So you're not going to have your passport to be able to leave that country or able to get back into the country you're going to. So you have to be in the country. So logistically, you have to be in the country when you mail in that documentation. And you have to stay in that country unless you happen to have 2 passports. You have to stay in that country until you get your passport back with hopefully the visa. So it puts a little bit of a constraint on movement and logistics if you're doing a mail-in application. For some of you, again, that might be wonderful news and you don't really care, but for some of you, it could cause really a logistical nightmare because you don't know how long necessarily it's going to take. You're mailing in your passport and you're hoping that it gets to the consulate, they make a decision quickly, and they send your passport back. As opposed to being in front of a human at an interview, they say, okay, thank you, you've been approved. Take your passport. You'll have it back within 5 to 7 days, and then you get back in the mail. So it's a little bit more calming than just mailing into the abyss and hoping that it's going to get back within a certain period of time. And the third thing to really take in consideration when you're dealing with the mail-in is what I kind of referenced before. When you mail in that application, you are mailing them your passport. You can't mail in, say, tell me when I'm approved, and then I'll send you my passport. You're sending in your passport. So now you are at the mercy of how long the consulate's going to take to make a determination on your case. You can't travel and you can't do anything that you need your passport for. So it's a little bit unnerving when we're doing mail-in these days, because we're mailing in, and even though some countries are very efficient with sending back the passport pretty quickly with the visa determination in it, a lot of countries, they don't really care, and they take as long as they want, sometimes too long. And sometimes if it goes into admin processing, or it has issues, or they're waiting for more documentation from you, they just hold on to the passport. And the problem is that you can't move without your passport outside the country. So it ends up to be stuck. And that could be a real big problem. So make sure that if you're doing mail-in, you realize that you are giving them your passport. So it is gone from your hands without a determination, or without knowing if it will be approved or not and how long it will take. And you're going to be kind of stuck. So it's something that you need to consider when you're doing mail-in, that you're not going to have access to your passport for the length of the determination of the case, as opposed to after the interview until they issue your visa. All right, those are the 3 things that you really need to keep in mind when you're doing the mail-in. Make sure, 1, that you mail in everything that's required and anything else that you need to mail in order to clarify any issues of your particular case. Remember that you're going to be mailing your passport, so you can't travel or move outside of that country until you get your passport back, which makes sure logistically that's going to work for you. And 3, make sure you are in the country when you mail in your application. Do not mail it in from outside of the country you are applying. I hope this video was helpful. I know that mail-in applications now for visas around the world is a wonderful thing. I don't want to knock it, but I also want to make sure that you are completely informed of some of the things that go along with the convenience of doing a mail-in. So convenience is not always a great thing, but it's a good thing in this case, but there are some drawbacks that come along with it. Thank you so much for joining me in this video, and have a wonderful morning, afternoon, night, wherever you are in the world. If you need help with any visa interviews or preparation, make sure to check below this video for links to a free visa interview guide and also a consultation prep course if you want to take that with me. Great seeing you, and look forward to seeing all of you on my next video.